today? Safar. Wow. I'm still making this Muharram. Bismillah. Bismillah. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man tabi'a al-huda. Amma ba'd. As we continue the explanation of Fatwa al-Hamawiyyah al-Kubra by the great Imam Abu al-Abbas Taqiyuddin Ahmad ibn Abdul Halim ibn Abdul Salam ibn Taymiyyah al-Harrani al-Dimashqi rahimahullah, at the time of the one who died 728 after the migration of our Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. And this evening, rather, is considered the new, if you want, for lack of better words, new day. But tonight is the night of Thursday. If I'm not mistaken, it's the 8th of Safar of the month in the Hijri calendar of Safar. Where it's Thursday night, the year 1443 after the migration of our Prophet ﷺ, which agrees on the Gregorian calendar, Wednesday, September the 5th, where they consider this evening still Wednesday, the year 2021. As we continue on this tremendous treatise, as you'll find that the great Imam, he goes on to say, he says, وَلَا أَنَّهُ لَيْسَ عَلَى الْعَرْشِ. He says, you'll find that there is no one from the Salaf that said that Allah is not above the heavens. You will never find it in the book of Allah Ta'ala that He's not above the heavens or He's not above the throne. Nor you will find those affairs from any of the statements of the Salaf. At the head of them is the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam, nor of any of the companions came with that understanding that Allah Ta'ala is everywhere. He says, if you'll find that Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah, that you find that he mentions, it says in Hamawiyyah, he says, وَلَا أَنَّهُ بِذَاتِهِ فِي كُلِّ مَكَانٍ, that He, Allah, meaning Himself, is in every place. You'll never find that statement being conveyed upon anyone. وَلَا أَنَّ جَمِيعَ الْأَمْكِنَ بِالنِّسْبَةِ إِلَيْهِ سَوَاء, nor will you find that all of the places as it pertains to Him are equal, meaning that they contain Allah. You'll never find any of these statements. As he also mentions, it says, وَلَا أَنَّهُ لَا دَاخِلُ الْعَالَمِ وَلَا خَارِجَهُ, nor will you find from them saying that Allah is inside of the creation or outside of it. He says, or that Allah is connected with the creation, or that He's part of it, or He's away from it, or part of it. All these are statements in which you'll find that will cause confusion. And we'll talk about that because this is where we stop. It says, وَلَا أَنَّهُ لَا تَجُوزَ الْإِشَارَةُ الْحِسِّيَّةُ إِلَيْهِ بِالْأُصْبُعِ وَنَحْوِهَا, nor you'll find that any of them said that it is not permissible that one point towards the heavens with their finger or anything similar to that. You'll never find that these statements have been conveyed upon any one of the Salaf, saying it's impermissible to point towards the heavens as an indication that Allah is above, and saying that if you do that, then you're an unbeliever or you're a disbeliever, or if you do that, then your finger deserves to be chopped off, such as the statements of Al-Asha'ira. So you'll find that these are from the affairs in which we're speaking about now, and this is what we'll talk about and give a little bit more elaboration for where we stopped from last class, was this statement. He says, you'll find that أَنَّ جَمِيعَ الْأَمْكِنَ بِالنِّسْبَةِ إِلَيْهِ سَوَاء, that all of the places as it pertains to Him or in regards to Allah are equal. You'll find this is their madhahib. You'll find that our concentration is in the deviant sect from the Muslims called the Asha'ira, and in actuality we have mentioned on numerous occasions that the Asha'ira are kullabiyah. They're not actually following the affair or the belief in which the great Imam, or which the affair in which Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari was upon, or what he called to. As we know, he recanted and he retracted his statements. So those who follow upon what he was upon before he made tawbah, in actuality they are called kullabiyah. It's not Ash'ariyah, they're kullabiyah, even though they might ascribe themselves to Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari. But at any rate, this is their madhab and this is their belief. So you'll find from amongst them who say that Allah is everywhere or in every place. You'll find some of them that'll say that al-arsh, that the throne or what is under the throne in regards to him are all equal. So those are the affairs you'll find they come of statements without very evil. You'll find that a lot of them, due to the fact that they say that they rationalize or they use their intellect, that if you was to say that Allah Ta'ala is above, they would say in their minds that Allah Ta'ala saying that He's above or saying that He's in the direction of what is above necessitates that He's contained in the sky from all directions. And we said that this statement is what? Is incorrect. First of all, the word jihad, meaning direction, jihad wasn't used during the time of the Salaf, meaning during the time of the Messenger of Allah. They never used the word jihad. Jihad meaning direction. Jihad is from those words, as they call them. They say al-kalimat al-mubhama al-muhtamila lil-haqq wal-batil. It's from those words, those obscure words that can necessitate truth and falsehood. For the word jihad, direction, based upon the Ash'ariyah, or when you, and if you want to include in that and add to that the word makan, place. Place is also from that affair. It's also from those words. The word makan. Place in regards to Allah is ghayru warid. It hasn't been narrated. You'll never find that Allah has mentioned in His book, nor in the authentic sunnah, the word makan in regards to Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. In regards to Him. So the word makan wasn't used either. It is also from those words that are called al-kalimat al-mubhama al-muhtamila lil-haqq wal-batil. It is also from those words that are obscure and they can necessitate truth and falsehood at the same time. Meaning, they can carry a correct meaning, and at the same time they can carry a false meaning. The word makan is the same thing. The word jihad, direction, is the same thing. In regards to the word makan, the word place. The word place, based upon the meaning of the Ash'ariyah. Because if you was to ask you, if they were to ask you, if they was to come to one of you, or one of us, and ask, do you believe Allah is in a place? Based upon the meaning of the word makan and their belief, is that Allah is contained in the sky. That's the reason why if you say that yes, Allah is in a place without explaining yourself, they believe in their minds you fell into kufr. Because based upon their concept and belief of place, is that Allah is contained in the sky by all directions. So based upon their belief, that's a what? False belief. So that's the reason why when they come to you with the question, do you believe Allah is in a place? You will ask them and say to them, what do you mean by the word place? Because the word place can mean that Allah Ta'ala is contained in the sky, which is what you believe, which is a false meaning. But however, it means another meaning, which is a meaning of truth, that Allah is above, and that He's above the creation, and that He's bigger than everything, even the creation. And that then the directions do not contain Him. Why? Because Allah is bigger than everything. That is the meaning that we believe, and that is the belief. That's the belief that we affirm, and that's the truth or the haqq in regards to the word makan. So it can necessitate truth that's false, and it can necessitate a truth that is what? Correct. You extract the word or you extract the haqq from it, and you nullify the batil. But in its origin, you should not use the word place in regards to Allah. That's simple. So that's what we say in regards to these words, such as makan, jihad, or, for example, ard, johara, a'rad, ab'ad, a'da, or the words, for example, body parts or body limbs, or for example, the word, as we said, or hayyiz. Hayyiz also means jihad, direction, or hayyiz means janib. Hayyiz, side, direction, place. All these words were not used, not in the Book of Allah or in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So those words that are used in the Book of Allah, those are the matters or the words we need to adhere to and cling to, and not deviate from. But at any rate, the word place, like we said, if one of them was to say to you, is Allah in the place? It's a trick question. You would say, number one, what do you mean by the word place? Because the word place can necessitate a truth that's false and corrupt, and it can necessitate a truth that it can necessitate a meaning that is true. Which one do you intend? That Allah is contained in the sky? That's your belief. We don't believe that. But at the same time, there is a haqq that we do have to affirm, which is that Allah is above everything and above the creation. I don't even know if this is on or not. That Allah Ta'ala is above the creation, and that He is bigger than everything. We believe that Allah is bigger than everything. The creation, the directions, the angels. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is akbar min kulli shay. He is bigger than everything. Tabaraka wa ta'ala. Nothing of directions contain Him. That is considered lowering our Lord Tabaraka wa ta'ala at a level that is considered dispraising our Lord. To even think that assumption in regards to saying that He's above the creation, that the creation will actually what? Contain Him. So that's in regards to those words such as jiha, jiha, makan, hayyiz, ba'ad, a'da, all those type of words. One needs to rid himself of and stick to what comes in the Book of Allah and in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. However, when those words are used, know for sure that they're called words that are obscure and they can necessitate truth and falsehood at the same time. Where one extracts the falsehood and he affirms the what? The truth. Because they can put you into a trap. Where they say for you, for example, do you believe Allah is in a place? If you just say yes without extracting the haqq from it, you fell into what? You fell into their trap. Or if you didn't extract, if you say yes without refuting their falsehood and not affirming the truth, then you rejected some truth that has in that statement, meaning in that word. So you have to explain it. What they said, which is of the false meaning, and you have to affirm for it at the same time the truth that it does carry. Because if you reject it generally by saying no at all, that means you rejected also along with it what? The truth that's inside of it. That's the reason why it's a trick question. That's the reason why none of the Salaf used to use the words. If they used to use the word, of course they would clarify what they intended by affirming the truth of what it necessitates. Even though what is befitting, just as you'll find that the great Imam Muhammad Aman Jam used to say, what is befitting is that the person avoids using those words at all. The word jiha, the word makan, hayyiz, a'da, all of it needs to be what? Alleviated. And one needs to abandon it. Stick to what Allah said in His book, that He's above the heavens, He's above the arsh, He's above the creation, that He's bigger than everything, Tabaraka wa ta'ala. He created the 7 heavens and the 7 earths and what was between them. Then He ascended above the arsh to the end of what Allah and His Messenger have informed in description of our Lord. Is it clear? You'll find that the Asha'ira that they say that Allah Tabaraka wa ta'ala, from the Asha'ira who say that Allah is not in the creation, nor He's outside, nor is He connected, nor is He separated. That is the statement of the Jahmiyyah. This statement of the Jahmiyyah has affected the Asha'ira, or if we call them Al-Asha'ira Al-Kullabiyah. You'll find that the Asha'ira are the majority of the Muslim world. Majority of the number of the Muslim lands carry the belief of the Asha'ira. Or like we said, what is more befitting that we call them Al-Ash'ariyatul Kullabiyah. That they're befitting that we call them Al-Kullabiyah instead of calling them Al-Ash'ariyatul. You'll find that they start, brothers and sisters, with this book called As-Sanusiyah. by Muhammad Yusuf al-Sanusi al-Husayni. That's the book that they use. That book is muqaddas عند الأشاعرة الكلابية. That book is considered consecrated, and that's considered a book that everyone needs to study, and if they're not, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will command the angels that they strike you with the instrument of iron, which we'll talk about in a minute, inshallah. So the word of the book entitled As-Sanusiyah by Muhammad Yusuf al-Husayni, As-Sanusi al-Husayni, that book is Kitab al-Muqaddas عند الأشاعرة. A person might come and say, you'll find in that book, and what it contains of all types of falsehood. You'll find that they say a statement that Allah is not above the arsh, nor is He under the arsh. No, Allah is not above the throne, nor is He under the throne, nor is He to the right of it, nor is He to the left of it. And if you was to say, no, they don't say that, the book will bring it, inshallah, and actually bring the text of what they say. You'll find that they mention to say this, and you'll find that this type of statement is a negation of Allah's existence. If I was to ask anyone the question, or if I was to ask an individual, give me a detail of something that does not exist, you would say it's not above, nor is it under, nor is it to the right, nor is it to the left. That is a profound statement in regards to describing something that does not exist. So in actuality, this statement that the Asha'ira is saying is negating Allah Ta'ala's existence. So this is the type of affair that's extremely dangerous, which a lot of the Muslims have adopted, not realizing what it carries of evil consequences and evil beliefs. So that's the first book that you'll find that the majority of the youth, they are raised upon, this type of book, which is called As-Sanusiyah by Muhammad Yusuf al-Sanusi al-Husayni. That's the book that they utilize. Then after they have completed and memorized that book, you'll find that they move on to another level. They'll use the book which was explained, as they call him, Al-Allama, Hashiyatu Al-Sanusiyah lil-Bayjuri. You'll find that they have a book, or they go up a notch for the explanation of Sanusiyah. They call it Al-Hashiyatul Bayjuri ala Matn al-Sanusiyah, meaning the commentary by the Allama, his name was Al-Bajuri, upon the text of As-Sanusiyah, which is an explanation of the book. Then you'll find that they utilize another book that is called Jawharat al-Tawheed. That's also an explanation of As-Sanusiyah, in which you'll find that the Asha'ira utilize. You'll find that it's very confusing. There are certain people will say Al-Ash'ariyah that they are considered muthbita. They're people that affirm the names and attributes of Allah. Then you'll find that they say no, they're mu'awwila. And some of them will say no, they're nufa. You'll find of them, they say that they describe them as being muthbita, people that affirm the names and attributes of Allah. Then you'll say at the same time they're called mu'awwila, that they distort the names and attributes of Allah. You'll find that they have the third description, which is called nufa, negators, where they negate the names of Allah Ta'ala. So which one is it? It's very confusing. That's the reason why you'll find that Shaykh al-Islam, that he clarified in his book Dar Ta'arud al-Aql wal-Naql, focusing on the faults of the Asha'ira, because their affair is very confusing and very disturbing. Because they're like this one time, then they change another time, and then they change another time. So they're muthbita, mu'awwila, and nufa all together. So if they now go out from one side, they could go from another door. Then they go in from one door, they come in from another one. That's the reason why, like we said, they were the most dangerous, of why Shaykh al-Islam concentrated a lot of his efforts in clarifying their falsehood and what they were upon of very dangerous beliefs. Because the people thought they were from the people of Sunnah, because they said that they do affirm. Yeah, they do affirm some attributes, which is the 7, which is what they call as-sifat al-sab'ah, which they call, in their belief, sifat al-ma'ani. Sifat al-ma'ani. They affirm 7 in which they found in their poetry, where they gathered the 7 by saying, هو الحياة والكلام والبصر سمع إرادة وعلم واقتدار. 7 attributes they affirm. Where some of them, they play around, such as the word speech, which we'll talk about later. They affirm these 7, which has been affirmed and established upon them, where they say that Allah has life, al-haya, wal-kalam, speech, wal-basar, sight, wal-hayatu wal-kalamu wal-basar, sam'un, iradatun, wa ilmun, wa iqtadar. That they affirm 7. Those 7 is, like I said, life, speech, hearing, seeing, will, or intent, if you want to say to intend, irada, ability, والحياة والكلام والبصر والحياة والكلام والبصر سمع إرادة وعلم واقتدار. And the 7th is knowledge. Those 7 they affirm, even though the word speech they play around it and joke around with. We'll talk about that in a minute, because they affirm that what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's speech is what? Created. We'll talk about that in a minute. So, from that aspect, the Asha'ira are considered people that affirm certain attributes. Then you'll find that they also what? They also joke around and they fall in what they call tahrif, which they call distorting the meanings. For example, the statement or the kalima or the word istiwa, ascension, this is considered distortion. What they say, the word istiwa means what? Istila, wal mulk, wal haymana, wal sultan. They say that the word ascension does not mean ascension. Ascension of the throne, or Allah ascending above the throne, means istila, wal sultan, wal mulk, wal haymana. It means dominate, conquer, power, and absolute domination. That's called tahrif. That's called ta'wil fasid. That's called a corrupt distortion of the meaning. So they say that the word istiwa means istila. That the word ascension of Allah means what? Conquering the throne. Allah did not ascend above the throne, He conquered it. Or He dominated it. Or He attained power over it. And all those other affairs that they say, which in this case is called mu'awwila, or they're called mu'awwila. Mu'awwila, which is extracted from the word ta'wil. But the word ta'wil is just talbis. It's just to cover up the truth. In actuality, what they're doing is tahrif. Tahrif means distorting the meaning. So, from that aspect, they are called mu'awwila. However, mu'awwila meaning the corrupt, distorted meaning of its meaning of the word ta'wil. Because ta'wil can also mean tahrif. It has a lot of meanings in the Arabic language, but that's one of them. So they do fall into ta'wil, fasid, corrupt distortion of the meanings. And they also negate. Person will say the Asha'ira don't negate. They do affirm characteristics. Some of them. But what they are affirming and frank in a characteristic that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala affirmed for Himself, that they're frank in distorting, not only just, that they're frank in negating, is Allah ta'ala being above. They are frank in that. They will not ever, in front of your face, say that Allah ta'ala, the meaning of ulum means this. No. They'll say straight to your face, Allah ta'ala is not above. That we don't affirm. We'll say that straight, directly, be candid and straightforward about it. Frank. So those are the affairs of what we're mentioning. So sometimes you'll find that they're what? Muthbita. Sometimes you'll find that they're what? Mu'awwila. And then sometimes you'll find that they're what? Nufa. And you'll find that they gather between all three of those affairs simultaneously. So don't let one say that they are muthbita. No, they're only muthbita. They only affirm some of the characteristics. They'll say, no, they're mu'awwila. Yeah, they mu'awwila, meaning they distort the meanings of the characteristics of Allah, especially in the affairs of His actions, subhanahu. And then you'll find that they also fall into negation, when they clearly and frankly negate the aboveness of Allah above His creation. So they gather between all those affairs, as we just mentioned. So that's just to show that the Asha'ira, or whatever you want, they are very disturbed in their beliefs. They're one time they're one color, then another time they're another color, and then another time they're what? They're another color. You cannot grab them on a certain affair because they're always what? Disturbed. Not solidified or stable in any matter, which is extremely dangerous. So this is what we say. You'll find that the Asha'ira believe that the Quran is created. Similar to that, the Mu'tazila say that the Quran is created. What's the difference? The problem is that they say when in regards to the speech of Allah, the speech of Allah Ta'ala with the Asha'ira is that it's a kalima or is a sifatun qadimatun qa'imatun bidatillah. It's a characteristic of Allah Ta'ala of His essence, bima'na, meaning that it's one meaning that's in the inside self of Allah Ta'ala, and we affirm at the same time it's created. And it does not have any voice nor any letters. The Mu'tazila say that we do believe the Quran is created. However, we don't say the nonsense that the Asha'ira say. That is a kalam that's qadimatun or kalimatun, sifatun qadimatun qa'imatun bidatillah wa huwa ma'nan qa'imun fi dhatillah laysa lahu harfu la sawt. That they say that it's a speech. We don't say like the Asha'ira say. That's playing around with the people too much. So the Mu'tazila just say, listen, just to keep it simple so we won't confuse your minds, we just say that the Quran is created, that's it. We don't say what those idiots the Asha'ira say. All that nonsense about its inward speech and it's carried out by Allah, where it's all one meaning, done with inside of Allah at the same time, and it's just one meaning that was done in the azal, or that it was done, or that is just one meaning and it has no voice and it has no letter. The Mu'tazila is saying, listen, we're just going to say, just to alleviate all the nonsense and the games, the Quran is created and Allah's speech is created. The Asha'ira add on a bunch of games. They'll say, yeah, we believe it's created, but the speech is inward speech inside of Allah, doesn't have any voice, doesn't have any letters. It's just one meaning. It's a meaning that Allah Ta'ala that's done within Himself, and that it's not true in reality. It's something else. All that's absolute what? Nonsense. You'll find that there was a scholar of the Asha'ira, now of the Sunnah. He has a book called Mawaqif by Al-Iji. Anyway, Al-Iji said in his book, there's no difference between the Asha'ira and the Mu'tazila in regards to speech, because both of them affirm that the Quran is created and that Allah's speech is created. He said the only differences between them is that the Mu'tazila, they say that it's just Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's voice, or the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's, His characteristic of speech is created, whereas they don't affirm for the Asha'ira, where they say that it's an inward speech that's done without voice in the letters, and that's the only difference between them. They affirm it, the Asha'ira say that, and the Mu'tazila don't say that, but at the end of the day, both of them agree in what? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's speech is created. That's it. So the Mu'tazila don't tire you out. They're the clear enemy. We just say, listen, we're not going to say and confuse you guys to play games and slithery, sneaky games. We just say that it's created, khalas. Keep it moving. The Asha'ira play a lot of games. We say it's created, but they'll add on some other necessary nonsense in order to what? I guess to get the people to maybe accept it. But at the end of the day, all of it is absolute nonsense, and all of it is no dalil, there's no proof behind what they're saying. And we'll talk about that in the next statement, in which we're going to explain, inshallah. Right, look to what Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah that he said, بل قد ثبت في الصحيح عن جابر بن عبد الله رضي الله عنه. As everyone found where it says that it's been established in Bukhari, in the authentic hadith, that tremendous narration of Jabir bin Abdullah, that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam خطب خطبته العظيمة يوم عرفات في أعظم مجمع حضره رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم جعل يقول ألا هل بلغت فيقولون نعم فيرفع إصبعه إلى السماء وينكبها إليهم يقول اللهم اشهد غير مرة وامثال ذلك كثير. Does everyone see it? Which comes in the Bukhari on the authority of Jabir ibn Abdullah, the Messenger of Allah gave a khutbah, rather the great khutbah on the day of Arafah, which was the greatest of gatherings as far as the number and as far as those who attended, in which the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he started to say, have I not informed the message? Have I not conveyed the message? And they started to say, yes, you conveyed it, you've advised us, and the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam fulfilled his trust. The Messenger of Allah, once they had testified that he delivered the message and conveyed it in the clearest manner, and to all of the people, and advise them with the proper advice of what will bring them close to Allah and take them further away from the hellfire. After the Messenger of Allah gave them this advice, he started to raise his finger to the heavens. Based upon the belief of the Asha'ira, the Prophet ﷺ did an act of kufr. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Based upon the belief of the Asha'ira, the Messenger of Allah did an act of kufr. Or based upon the belief of the Asha'ir al-Kullabiyah, the Messenger of Allah did an act that necessitates his finger that his finger be what? Chopped off, based upon their belief. The Messenger of Allah pointed to the heavens, and he started to point at them, towards or leaning towards them, and say, "O Allah, testify." And he said it more than once, and he said, you'll find plenty examples of this. As everyone knows, and all of the Muslims who study the religion, the Messenger of Allah only performed Hajj one time. That's it. Yes, the Messenger of Allah only performed Hajj one time. And it was called what? Hajjatul Wada'. It's called the farewell pilgrimage. Hajjatul Wada'. In which the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he bid farewell to the Muslims. Why? Because the Messenger of Allah is as if you'll find, rather they said, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to the Messenger of Allah after that year that he was not going to what? Remain alive. As you'll find that al-ilm, they say after he performed that farewell pilgrimage, there wasn't about approximately maybe 80 days until the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam passed away. So that was why it was called the what? The farewell pilgrimage. It was the first Hajj of the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam, and it was his last. And it was the biggest gathering you'll find of the Muslims while the Messenger of Allah was alive. That tremendous gathering which had actualized when and where? During Hajj and Yawm Arafah. Yawm Arafah, which is the greatest pillar of Hajj. If not from the greatest pillars, that is from the greatest pillar. While you'll find that the Messenger of Allah said authentic hadith, where he said, Al-Hajj huwa Arafah. The Hajj is Arafah. Meaning not all of Hajj is Arafah, but to specify that specific ritual has to be what? Fulfilled. And is if the greatest, from the greatest, if not the greatest of rituals of Hajj and from the rites of Hajj. The Messenger of Allah on that great day, as it was the greatest gathering of all of the Muslims, as far as in number and as far as in attendees who heard the message. So this affair reached the level, based upon the belief of the Asha'ira, that they only believe that we only accept what was conveyed by way of tawatur. This reached the level of tawatur and beyond. This reached the level of tawatur and beyond the level of tawatur. Beyond it. Thousands of Muslims witnessed the last message that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ had gave, the last message, meaning in that khutbah in Hajj, which was his only time he made Hajj, alayhi salatu wassalam. So that gathering was a gathering of thousands of those who gathered to hear the great message that the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wassalam, that he gave not only Yawm Arafah, but also Yawm al-Jumu'ah bi Arafah. So you'll find that it gathered on the day of Hajj. It also gathered on the day of Yawm Arafah, and also the Messenger of Allah gave and delivered this sermon or this message on the day of Jumu'ah. And they say it was Yawm Arafah or Bi'uruna. Zu'urana is also part of Arafah, just to be a little bit more specific. And that's how you pronounce it, even though some people say that it's pronounced another way. But it was correct is bi'uruna. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam gave that sermon, that khutbah yawmi Arafah. Gave that khutbah, that sermon on the day of Arafah, clarifying that great khutbah, a lot of the ahkam, which is binding upon all of the Muslims. To what? To put to practice and to put it to action in order to keep themselves unified and to also protect themselves from fitna, and what will also destroy their unification and their solidarity amongst themselves. When the Messenger of Allah sallallahu after he concluded that khutbah, you'll find of why we're saying this and using this as a dalil, the why Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah rahimahullah used this as an evidence. The Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam mentioned and said in the end of the khutbah, وَأَنْتُمْ تُسْأَلُونَ عَنِّي فَمَا أَنْتُمْ قَائِلُونَ. He said, you will be asked about me. What will you say? So you'll find that the Messenger of Allah asked the questions that is muthir or mu'athir, that incited the people and it affected them. قالوا, they said, نَشْهَدُ بِأَنَّكَ بَلَّغْتَ وَنَصَحْتَ. He said, we testify that you clarified and you conveyed the message. And also, that question was directed towards us. It wasn't just for the Sahaba at that time. It's also for the people who came after the Messenger of Allah. For those who study and increase in knowledge, they also testify because they will be asked on the day of resurrection. The same affair that they will be asked of those who the message was conveyed to, similar to that, we will be asked. So the same question that the Messenger of Allah gave to them also applies to us. Antum tus'aluna anni, fama antum qa'ilun. You will be asked about me. What are you going to say? The people will say, Nashhadu bi annaka ballaghta wa nasaht. We testify that you conveyed the message in the most perfect, clearest form, or the perfect, clearest conveyment. And we testify that you also what? Gave us advice. You gave us advice to what will be our reason for success in this world, and what will be a means for our destruction. You clarified and gave us directions. So the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam upon that said, he took his finger and he pointed towards the sky. And he said, O Allah, testify. O Allah, testify. O Allah, testify. That, based upon that, the Messenger of Allah pointed, which is to show what everyone that the Messenger of Allah believed that Allah Ta'ala was above. So these are the affairs of what we're explaining. How is it so that the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam pointed towards the sky, not believing that Allah is above the heavens? This is an affair that's extremely strange. How is it that the Messenger of Allah pointed towards the heavens amongst thousands of the Muslims, affirming the affair concerning our Lord of where He is subhanahu, which is above the arsh? And this text, like we said, was in front of hundreds and hundreds of Muslims who gathered and saw this with their eyes. So these are the affairs and what we need to what? Realize in regards to our belief and our affirmation of Allah Ta'ala being above. And in regards to what the Messenger of Allah had conveyed in that great khutbah, which I think a lot of us need to review. Because a lot of us these days have a lot of affairs that we fall into what the Messenger of Allah told us to avoid with all costs, not to what? Do it. And at the same time we do it anyway. And those are affairs we need to what? Concentrate on as far as rectifying. And put our great efforts in trying to rectify those ahkam. The affairs of jahiliyyah, the affairs about the matters pertaining to one being better than the other based upon their color, or based upon their background, or based upon the street they come from, or area, or country. And the Messenger of Allah clarified all those affairs. That he said that all of the affairs of jahiliyyah has been put under my foot of mine. And they've been disgraced. Meaning, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. ولا قوة إلا بالله. حي على الصلاة. ولا قوة إلا بالله. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. Now, we find that the Messenger of Allah والسلام, that he clarified in that great khutbah a lot of ahkam. A lot of ahkam in regards to also the women, in regards to the treatment of them. A lot of different things. That a lot of affairs in which you'll find that the people fall into opposing day and night. And those are affairs that we need to speak about on another occasion. Are the affairs of how people these days, that they love conflict. And they love stirring up conflict. And they love affairs that are very, very what? Very unacceptable amongst the families and amongst family structure. And these are the reason why, brothers and sisters, like we said, we live in some trying times. That if Allah has not given one insight to show that what's going on around us, that the society is collapsing around us. If anyone doesn't see it, then I don't know what is. How many from people who we hear, just listening to their backgrounds and their background stories, how many of them come from homes that have no father? How many of them come from homes that have no proper adult to raise them? How many from the children have been touched in their homes by their own relatives, or by their own uncles, or by their own cousins? You see that the family structure is falling, has destroyed itself, and it's imploding here. Rather, it's falling apart. If people do not see that around them, that the society is collapsing, to open their eyes, to really take the initiative now to make a major change, then I don't know what will, in order for the people to wake up. How many people have I spoken to from women that they don't have any fathers that cared about them? And that's why we marry these sisters that you'll find that they have a lot of issues, and vice versa. And you'll find that the sisters, when they marry the brothers, they never had a true father to raise them. And you'll find that the sisters complain and say that the men don't know how to be men. They don't know how to be sensitive in order to what? Cater towards a woman's feelings in regards to not being cold, but taking a moderate approach in order to deal with certain affairs. You'll find that a lot of them are extremely cold. Very, very cold. Do not know what to say to a woman. Do not know how to treat a woman. Don't know how to deal with conflict in a proper way without blowing up and exploding and letting their children see it. And as a result, the children get affected. And then they carry their hatred for their father on until they become the one who they hate. And that's what happens to a lot of men these days. They so-called hate their father, they become them. They do the exact same thing what they did to their children, they do it to their own children. The exact same thing that their father did to them, they'll do it to another child. So what makes you difference between the child you abandoned and your father that abandoned you? What's the difference? You did the exact same thing. And this is the reason why we find that we live in a society full of children and full of children who are killing one another. Why? People who are in pain are inflicting more pain. People who are in pain are inflicting pain. That's what's going on out here. People who are in pain, who have been hurt, are afflicting people with pain. And the reason for it is because a lot of us has adopted this Jahiliyyah mentality, thinking it's praiseworthy, and in actuality, it's what's causing the society to collapse. When will we ever stop? When will we stop and wake up and stop believing that chasing after dysfunctional behavior is acceptable? When are we going to stop it? When are we going to grow up? When are the adults going to stop acting like little children? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala aid us in what we see what's going on around us. Because, wallahi, I see that the society is collapsing. It's collapsing right in front of our eyes. I see it every day. Just more and more it's collapsing. Every single day. Where's your father? If you used to ask the majority of children up the street, right now, outside the masjid, where's your father? Did he raise you? I don't know where that NIGGA is. He ain't care about me. That's what you'll find that the majority of them will say. Where's your parents? I don't know. Who cares about where? To the end of it. This is what's going on. And this is the reason why what? The society is collapsing. And like we said, a lot of those people who did not get help from those issues, they carried it on in their marriages and their families. And it causes a lot of problems because they never got help for their issues. For those affairs, ya ma'ash al-ikhwa, those are the matters in which the Message of Allah clarified in the khutbah of the Hajjat al-Wada' to alleviate ourselves of the affairs of Jahiliyyah, whether it be of treatment of people or whether it be in our relationships of how we treat ourselves, especially with our families and our women. The Message of Allah clarified all of that in that great khutbah. What to do as far as with the women, how to treat them and what to do with them in order to maintain your solidarity with your families, to not let your family structure destroy, because it will be the demise of the society as a result of it. And this is what you see today. The society, wallahi, brothers and sisters, are falling apart around us. It's falling apart. It's only a matter of time till it be a major collapse. It's only a matter of time now. From all the different wickedness, all the different bad manners, all the different selfishness of people, all the different types of games people play, the lying, the deceit, the cheating, the manipulation, to the end of the evil that the people think they're getting away with. And they're not getting away with anything, because all of these affairs is playing a part to why we are in the state we're in now. When will the people stop and when will they wake up? Allahu A'lam. Also, our brothers, and I really do think that our brothers especially need classes to teach them how to be husbands. Wallahi, I think a lot of brothers out here don't know how to be husbands. I'm at the point with the stuff I hear, I'm just like, you would think that it's something basic that every man would know. I really think they need to come to class to really be taught of what to say to a woman and what not to say. What to say to children and how to discipline them. And also I think we need classes to teach men about plural marriages, because I think men out here don't know how to be a proper husband to more than one wife. They don't. They don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. They'll cause namima between two wives. Oh, I don't like her because of this. Oh, I like to go back to the wife. Oh, I don't like her because of that. Hey, what are you doing that for? Who told you that's a proper way of dealing between two wives? Who told you that? You don't think namima can be done within a marriage between two Muslim sisters? If you conveying one thing back to the other? For what? To destroy more families? To destroy more people? To make one person think bad about the other? For what? Ultimately, this is the reason why society's in chaos right now. And this is the reason why we live in a society where we now got to be afraid to where bullets might fly across our faces. This is the behavior that plays a part to all of that until this was the result. When is it going to stop? Allahu A'lam, when the people wake up. Like I said, I think there has to be classes in this of men and how to teach them how to have and conduct the plural marriages properly. I think they don't know. I think it's to the point where I think even men need to be taught how to eat. I think it's that bad out here. That's me. I think they don't even know how to properly eat. They don't know how to properly treat a woman. They don't know how to properly deal with conflict in a proper way, which agrees with Kitab and Sunnah, without it being an affair where you're transgressing the bounds. Where you're maintaining respect, but at the same time getting your point across. All these affairs, like we said, we need. However, we need more people on deck to help us actualize these goals. But where is the men these days? These are the affairs in which the Messenger of Allah ﷺ conveyed. And these are the affairs, like we said, Ya ma'ashal ikhwa, if we don't do something about it quick, the society will collapse. Like I said, brothers and sisters, the students of knowledge are getting older. A lot of them are getting frustrated. A lot of them are getting older, they're getting frustrated, they're trying to move on. What is the people going to do when they leave? What are the people going to do when they're gone? Are we setting up for the future? Or are we just going around guessing, we'll just deal with it as it comes along? When it hits, what are you going to do? These are the affairs that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ conveyed. And these are the affairs we need to realize and wake up before there be a major collapse. Because like we said, brothers and sisters, it's only a matter of time before a major collapse happens. It's only a matter of time. If the people don't change and wake up to do something about it, it's just a matter of time, like I said, before a major catastrophe and a major collapse happens. It's only a matter of time. Like I said 3 years ago, when I was in Delaware, I used to come outside and look at the sky late at night by myself. And I used to just be like, something crazy is about to happen. I've never seen the wickedness and the height of it. With the people, it's just at a magnitude that's undescribable. Something crazy is about to happen. Ain't no way the people can be this evil and get away with it. Something major, a major catastrophe is about to happen. Not saying about the affairs of the unseen. We're saying that based upon the acts of the people. That was the delil. Delil was like, look at this, the inclination of the evil and the wickedness of the people, of how they are. It's reached an all-time high. And they don't care. That's what makes it even more scary. It's to the point like, I don't care. So what? Who's going to stop me? And once you know it's reached that point, the imminent punishment of Allah is about to come down. And bang, here we are. This is exactly what happened. These are the affairs that can said, brothers and sisters. We don't start, a lot of us are not living right. We aren't. A lot of us are not living right in our homes and in our cars and what we're doing. We're not living right. And they want the people at the Masjid to deal with their affairs. I keep telling people, and I'm going to say this again, I'm going to say this in the khutbah. If you do things back alley, you deal with it back alley. Don't bring it to me when the headaches happen. Don't bring it to the administration or to anybody when you get into trouble with these affairs with these women and these relationships. If you're getting married back alley, if you're dealing with it because your man hooked you up with the kill and I'm going to marry you off real quick because this is funny and this is a joke. And then when the headaches happen and the marital discord and the confusion and the arguing, the bickering and the hollering and the screaming and all the other nonsense happen, don't bring it to the masjid. Keep us free from that nonsense. You got married back alley, you deal with it back alley. Because we don't want to deal with the headaches. Let your man deal with the headache that married you off. Let the wakil who married you off deal with the headaches. Let him deal with the marital discord. Let him deal with the headaches of trying to resolve the issues. Let them deal with it. I bet you they don't want to deal with it now, but they was there when they wanted to get you some halal. But now when the headache occurs in the marital discord and the chaos, I'm busy now. No. Don't bring it here. Track them down just like you tracked them down when they wanted to marry you off. Track them down and let them deal with the headache. Don't let the imam, let's take it to now you want to deal with it right now. Why you want to take it to the masjid now when the headaches and the marital discord is taking place? Brothers and sisters, we have to start living right. When are y'all going to stop doing these sneaky things and see clearly around you that Allah is making it clear it's not getting us anywhere. Nowhere. It's a waste of time. Falling in love before the marriages and I want to be romantic before the marriage and I want to date and I'm going to fall in love with someone before the marriage. Where's it gotten you? Nowhere. But your feelings hurt. And it's gotten you nowhere. Except that you're bitter and you hate men now. I hate men. Yeah, what was you doing? Where did you meet them at? Social media. Bingo. You don't think that your problem started right there? Started there. That was a suspect? That you met him on social media, on Instagram? That should have been enough for you to be like, that's a red flag. How many other women you think he did it with? Probably did it with 20 other women, if not more. What makes you so special? Why? Because he put in your hair, you cute, He said that to 30 other women that you GQ. That was suspect right there. Started off. That's how it started off. Then you and your feelings is hurt in the end. Oh, I hate these brothers. Ain't no good brothers in the community. Well, how you think you went about it? You went about it the wrong way. Allah didn't put no tawfiq in it. He humiliated you with it. Why? Because of our Prophet ﷺ made it clear in hadith. He said, "Ju'ila dhulu was-saghar ala man khalafa amri." Humiliation, disgrace has been made upon the one who opposes my affair, who opposes my command. That's even in our social affairs, brothers and sisters. Don't think that's just in bid'ah and affairs of usul and aqidah. It's not. It applies and applicable to every affair, even our social ones and our relationships. If you go against what the Messenger of Allah said, Allah's humiliation, disgrace will fall upon you. Your feelings will be hurt, and you will become bitter. And your feelings will be hurt, and you'll become bitter, and you'll be what? And you'll be a person that probably will have their feelings hurt, and your heart will be hurt, and your feelings and your emotions will be hurt. These affairs are applicable on all of our matters. That's the reason why we have to wake up and start living right. The moment we live right is the things that will be a reason for things will start to change. But we have to live right. A lot of our brothers and sisters, wallahi, they're not living right. And I know a lot of them are not living right. When will they change, and when will this affair penetrate their heart? Allah knows best. Maybe they'll change when an earthquake, major earthquake hits and their houses rumble to the ground. Maybe that would be a wake-up call for everybody. Maybe. Because some other people in other countries had to deal with that. How do you think they felt when they had to come home when there wasn't no house to come home to? Be grateful for the affairs that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us and not partners from certain tests. Those are the affairs that if we do not take heed to it and take account and start rectifying our affairs, reevaluating, and also look into what we're doing wrong, we're coming up short in, we will continue down this road until, like we said, there's an inevitable collapse. And that's what we see every single day by burying these 18-year-old, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 24-year-olds, to the end of what we're doing every day. Uncle just yesterday called me, said I was down 52nd Street. Some crazy youth with a machete in his hand, a gun. Going walk, chasing someone down the street. Just chaos. Because everybody in their mind think I could do what I want, who's going to stop me? Once everyone has that mentality, know for sure something else is about to happen. These are the affairs, like I said, inshallah, we'll stop in a minute. Just about to pray. I'll just read a little bit. Notice that Shaykh Taymiyyah, after the affair that he was trying to establish, which that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being above, during the khutbah on the Hajjat al-Wada' and the farewell pilgrimage, where he was pointing above. He was pointing above, which is a clear proof and evidence that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above the heavens. You'll find that Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, that he said that these people, he used to say in a debate against them, he used to say this statement. He said, لو كنت مكانكم لحكمت على نفسي بالكفر ولكنكم جهال. He said, if I was in your place, he says, I would have gave the ruling upon myself that I fell into disbelief. He said, however, you're ignorant. Ignorant because you'll find that these people were not fundamentally taught properly, not glorifying the sunnah. Rather, you'll find that a lot of them don't even give any type of care to the sunnah. Especially people who are busy or have been raised upon this type of ideologies or these type of beliefs. They fell into what? They were taught Matan as-Sunusiyya. They was taught to memorize it, till they were not taught properly the proper respect of the book of Allah and the sunnah and the message of Allah. As a result of it, they were taught to give precedence to these type of ideologies to the point where if you was asked some of the people their sha'ira in regards to the Hashit al-Bayjuri or the Aqidat al-Sanusiyya, and if you was to ask one of them, what about those Muslims who died before this book was authored? What will be their inevitable abode? They said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give Khalil ar-Rahman, Ibrahim, he would teach them Matan as-Sanusiyya in paradise upon their spirits. Look to the nonsense the level of nonsense that it reaches. Based upon of what? Of taqleed. Blind following till it reaches this type of pathetic nonsense that they would tell these people, which will have no evidence and proof for to establish that Khalil Rahman would teach them in paradise, Metan Sanusiya, upon their spirits in the hereafter. Absolute pathetic nonsense. Upon more nonsense and upon more nonsense. This is the estate of the Asha'ira, wallahu musta'an. But you'll find that they say, in what Shaykh al-Islam that he mentioned about the affair pertaining to what everyone, al-kalam. We already, alhamdulillah, we mentioned that. You'll find that Shaykh al-Islam said that if I was in your place, I would say that I fell into kufr. However, you people are ignorant. And even if they're not pleased with this, then we say that they are ignorant. Ignorant because of out of mercy for them, sympathy for their circumstance, that they fall into this. You'll find that the message of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam, that he affirmed for Allah having hearing and seeing, or hearing and sight, where Allah ta'ala revealed the ayah, وَكَانَ اللَّهُ سَمِيعًا بَصِيرًا, that Allah is all hearing and he's all seeing. That the message of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he took his finger in the hadith, he says, Inna Allah Sami'un Basir, that the message of Allah had taken his finger and he pointed towards the eyes and the ears, affirming that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has these characteristics, not to resemble them, but to affirm them, that Allah ta'ala has these characteristics. They reject it and say that the message of Allah, based upon pointing here and there, fell into kufr, and that he fell into resemblance. All these affairs, like we said, are all contradictive, and all acts that if you was to totally apply them in a full perspective, in a full manner, you'll find that you fall into kufr, because what you say about the message of Allah himself, alayhi salatu wasalam, falling to affairs that's in opposition to what you so-called say is the truth. And those affairs are extremely dangerous. Fine, so let's read again. Next. فَإِنْ كَانَ الْحَقِّ. Do you have that translated?
Yes.
Oh, read it for me. I'm sorry, Muhammad.
And if the truth is in what they denies and reject the Shaykh concerning the attributes of Allah that are established in the book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Messenger ﷺ, from these phrases and their likes, the phrases that the way of the Salaf is safer, but the way of the Khalaf are more knowledgeable and more precise, other than what is understood from the book and the Sunnah textually or apparently, then how would Allah permit? Then how would Allah permit or make permissible upon the messenger, and then upon the best of this nation, Salaf, that they should constantly speak what contradict this truth?
Well, we'll talk about, inshallah, the word nas and zahir. That's something that's a usuli terminology. It's an istilahun usuli in usul fiqh. The word nas means here in this context, in this sentence here, it means something in which as soon as you hear the meaning, it's clear.
Like no other possible.
There's no other possible way it could be understood. Zahir is that another meaning could be what? Could be understood. That's the reason why. That's what he said. There's nothing from nas or zahir. Meaning nas is straightforward. Zahir is something that needs to be explained, because some other meaning can be understood from the text. So a person would take those meanings and go back and return them back to what is correct in order to get the correct meaning, by going either back to the book of Allah or the Sunnah of the Message of Allah. That's an istilah usuli, which we'll talk about inshallah. For example, Allah Ta'ala says in his book, يَخَافُونَ رَبَّهُمْ مِنْ فَوْقِهِمْ. They fear their Lord from above them. What could be understood from that statement except what? Allah's above. Then you'll find another ayah that's called وَهُوَ الْقَاهِرُ فَوْقَ عِبَادِهِ. He's the dominant one above his servants. What could be taken here is what they call ulu al-qahr, the aboveness of Allah, of domination, not that he himself is above. That's called zahir. However, we have the other text to what? To establish that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above, He Himself. And we also have the text to show that what? He does have the aboveness of qahr, domination. We already talked about that. But at any rate, that's an example of what they call zahir and nas. That's an istilah usuli. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Don't worry, inshallah. That's an istilah usuli. We'll stop here, inshallah. What time did the salah come on? 8:30, you say 8:25? We'll stop here, inshallah. Any questions about the lesson, anyone?
What was the last term that was used?
That's called zahir. Istilahi means terminology, or istilah means terminology. Istilahat means terminologies. That's istilah usuli, something that was used in usul fiqh. Discuss that later tomorrow. Tomorrow, inshallah, we'll talk about it. Istilah usuli means like it was a principle in usul fiqh, or terminology in usul fiqh. Talk about that tomorrow. Tafadhal.
Shaykh Muhammad, he mentioned that Hajjat al-Wada was on Yawm al-Jumu'ah ba'd Arafah.
Bi'urna.
What's Urna?
Urna is a place on Arafah. Urna is a place on Arafah. It's still there to this day. Urna is there.
Is it a specific mechanism?
It's a specific place on Arafah. That's what Urna is. This is a specific place on Arafah. Any other questions? Any other questions, anyone? But you understand the difference between zahir and nas. Like I said, nas, you hear the meaning, it means one thing. Zahir, something else could be understood. Well, qahiru fawqa ibadihi, he's the dominant one from above his servant. What do you understand from that? It could be ulu al-qahr. Ulu al-qahr. Because we know that ulu breaks down to three types. Is what? That, qahr, qadr. Or you could call it ulu that, qahr, or ulu al-makana. You could call them either one. But it's ulu al-that, wal-qahr, wal-qadr. Or you could call it ulu al-makana. Any other questions? Continue tomorrow, inshallah. So keep a place one here for tomorrow. صلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.